Good evening and welcome to this edition of News Leader on 6. I'm Jim Fuller. In tonight's news, the late Joe Moon was honored for his years of work and dedication. The Red Cross is urging people to donate blood during July, and the local chapter of the National Alliance on Mental Health is holding meetings for caregivers. We'll have these stories and more on tonight's News Leader on 6.
It is wonderful living here. I don't have responsibilities of a house. I don't have all the work that goes with the house, and you can just relax here and be happy.
There's no set thing that you have to do. However, the offerings that they give you, it's wonderful.
I think the biggest thing about Parkview that is most significant to me is that we are family.
Hello, I'm Ray Norris, Mayor of Tullahoma. I want to thank the citizens of Tullahoma who've been following CDC guidelines for helping prevent the spread of COVID-19. You've been wearing your mask, you've been getting your vaccinations, and I'll tell you, it's working. Today, our positivity rate is less than 5%. That's the lowest it's been since the earliest days of our pandemic. So, now I want to urge each of you to continue to follow these guidelines, and together, let's get this pandemic behind us and get our country back to the old normal where we need to be. Thank you.
Welcome back. While donors across the country have rolled up a sleeve to give this summer, the need for blood and platelets remains crucial for patients relying on life-saving transfusions. The American Red Cross continues to experience a severe blood shortage, and donors of all blood types, especially type O, and those giving platelets are urged to make an appointment to give. Right now, the Red Cross needs to collect more than 1,000 additional blood donations each day to meet current demand as hospitals respond to an unusually high number of traumas and emergency room visits, organ transplants, and elective surgeries. To thank donors who help refuel the blood and platelet supply this month, all who come to give during the rest of July will receive a $10 Amazon gift card and will also receive automatic entry for a chance to win $5,000 worth of gas. Also, all those who come to donate throughout the entire month of July will be automatically entered for a chance to win a trip for 4 to Cedar Point or Knott's Berry Farm. Donors who give now will help stock the shelves for the rest of the summer season. Schedule an appointment to give blood or platelets by using the Red Cross Blood Donor app, visiting redcrossblood.org, or by calling 1-800-RED-CROSS. That's actually 1-800-733-2767. We'll be right back in a moment after these messages.
My husband was diagnosed with a spinal infection. He lost his ability to swallow and the movement of his legs.
I couldn't turn over in bed, I couldn't walk, I couldn't eat.
They were just wonderful in the treatment and care they gave my husband.
I regained my mobility where I was able to go home.
It is miraculous.
Let us champion your recovery. Life Care Center of Tullahoma.
To be honest, I was skeptical about getting the COVID-19 vaccine.
I checked what the CDC says and spoke with my doctor about the potential side effects. It definitely made me much less anxious. She told me if I have some arm pain or feel tired, that's completely normal as my body builds a defense to the virus.
I was willing to take the vaccine to protect me, my family, and my friends.
Join the millions of Tennesseans who have decided to give COVID-19 vaccines a shot. Visit covid19.tn.gov to find an appointment today.
Welcome back. News leaders Peggy Burton recently spoke with Pam and Brenda with the National Alliance on Mental Health Illness about their local group that helps individuals and families deal with issues arising from mental illness.
Well, we have a support group that meets the first Thursday of every month. In that support group is basically for the caregiver, but we also have a person that is trained in Bridges, which Bridges is for the person with the mental illness.
And is that going on simultaneously?
Yes.
In a different room or a different space?
Because a lot of times they come together, but if your person with the illness is sitting next to you, you're not going to be totally honest.
Right.
And our group is so that you can share what you need to share.
Exactly what you need to share.
And get it out of your system. You know?
I'm not sure everybody realizes what a blessing that is, or what it does for you to just be able to say to another human being that's going to understand what it is you're going through.
It's hard to talk to family and friends when you have a loved one with a mental illness because they don't understand.
And they don't want to hear it.
And they don't want to hear it.
That's true.
And life is difficult sometimes, and it just is such a relief to be able to share that with someone who is going through the same thing, who knows what you're feeling, what you're experiencing.
Let's tell them where you meet.
We meet at the First Presbyterian Church in Manchester. It's 1101 Jackson. It's right by Food Lion, and we meet the first Thursday of every month at 6:30. We'll meet this Thursday.
And where do they enter? Front door or the side?
We'll have a sign. We'll have a sign in the yard.
It says NAMI meets here, and there's a sign.
And if you have any questions, email that address there or call. Whose phone number is that? Is it
That's
yours?
a Google Voice number, and it rings
okay.
both of our phones. It'll say, tell us your name, and you tell your name, and we...
Don't you think that a lot of times people don't realize that a situation in their family might have a mental illness? They can't quite put their finger on what makes that person a little different.
It's hard to recognize the symptoms sometimes. Even when I found out my daughter had extreme depression, when she was finally diagnosed with bipolar disorder, I didn't know what to do. I was totally in the dark, and anything you could have done wrong, I have done. I'm the queen.
And so this organization has saved your life.
Yes.
And saved your daughter's life.
It was a life changer for us both. Yes.
It kind of teaches you triggers, to know what triggers the person, or what upsets them, or how to talk to them. Because you don't talk at them, you talk to them.
You talk to them.
And you listen. You listen.
And just because they're screaming doesn't mean you should be screaming.
Correct. Usually if you lower your voice and you're not yelling back, then they will eventually calm down, hopefully.
So setting boundaries, that's important?
Yes, setting boundaries.
That's the hardest part.
And it's hard sometimes with somebody you love, and they maybe start screaming and crying, and you're thinking, oh, well, maybe this time I'll let this go.
Yeah, and you have to stick with it. If you set a boundary, you have to stick with it. You can't give in.
That's the hardest part.
I always wondered why my father knew that. So you all meet for how long?
For 2 hours.
For 2 hours.
From 6:30 to 8:30.
It's a wonderful organization. I've been to the meetings, and I have been gifted by what I learned when I went.
Thank you.
And I'm so proud of you all, and I need to go back. I'm so proud that you keep going and keep pushing, because there's so much mental illness that's not even recognized in our communities.
What keeps me motivated is I've never ever forgotten how isolated and alone I felt when my daughter was going through the bad times, and I never ever have forgotten that, and that's what keeps me going. I don't want other people feeling what I felt, and if I can make a difference, then I want to.
There are hard diseases out there, and I think it's so wonderful that we have an organization which costs you nothing.
Everything NAMI, everything
free.
NAMI offers is free.
More news is coming up.
It's not invoice. It's not MSRP. It's not Christmas Day, although it may feel like it. It's the lowest prices in Middle Tennessee, period. Get to Stan McNabb Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram or Stan McNabb Chevrolet Buick GMC Cadillac before these prices are gone forever.
All right, the cat's out of the bag at Carroll Street Liquor in Tullahoma. Now you know where to go if you're planning a get-together and want the ideal wine or spirit. Party planning can be stressful, but at Carroll Street Liquor you'll find everything you need. Mixers, gift sets, and all of your favorite spirit brands. So if you're feeling the pressure to pull off the ideal party, come to Carroll Street Liquor and select among the seemingly endless supply of wines, spirits, gift sets, and more. Your perfect party, it's in the bag with Carroll Street Liquors.
So you've been meaning to do something healthy, commune with nature, get outdoors and meet new people. We have the perfect solution. Come hike with us. You can find a Tennessee Trails Association chapter near you, including Clarksville, Columbia Franklin, Highland Rim, Jackson, Knoxville, Oak Ridge, Memphis, Murfreesboro, Nashville, Plateau at Crossville, and Upper Cumberland. We're on the web at TennesseeTrails.org. It's fun, it's stress-free, and it's good for you. See you on the trails.
Welcome back. On Wednesday, longtime Tullahoma Parks and Rec employee and Tullahoma native Joe Moon was honored at D.W. Wilson by a street dedication in celebration of his life on the 5th anniversary of his untimely passing. Alderman Rupa Blackwell started off the ceremony remembering Joe.
So thank you all so much for being here today. I want to be first to be sure to thank the many community members who helped this morning a lot. Brenda Moon, Joe's sister, Pam Bussell, Tom Murdoch, our city administration, Team Parks and Recreation and Public Works, who I know have had a big hand in getting this done today, the many volunteers who have helped blow up these balloons this morning, and our sponsors, London's and Master of Ceremonies. So thank you all so much for being here and supporting our community as we honor Joe Moon today. I want to take a minute to share a tidbit of my experience with Joe. Growing up, I swam for the Tullahoma Swim Club, which meant I spent countless hours right here at D.W. Wilson. To say Joe Moon was a fixture here at this community center is an understatement. I remember seeing him each day as I grew up. Joe would tease me when I did something silly, would laugh at my terribly bad jokes, would encourage me when I was down, and would get on to me when I needed someone to get on to, especially when I would swing on those bars back there. And he did it all with humor and with a smile. And I can tell you, he made me feel the same way he made every child feel who walked through those doors. Appreciated, seen, and invested in. And funny, even though I really was not. A couple months after I moved back to town, I got a message from Joe. He told me to come down to Stamps with my daughter because he wanted to see me and to catch up. I told him, yes, absolutely, because of course I wanted to see him. It was at the end of the school year, and I had planned to go see him after the school was done. But like we often do, I took time for granted. One of my biggest regrets is not getting to see him before he passed, because I honestly couldn't fathom the idea of him not being here the next day. It taught me that when we have the opportunity to visit with people who invested in us, we do it, always, and to not take time for granted. So 5 years ago today, Joe passed away. And I'm so thankful that we are taking the opportunity to honor him here today. But I'd like to challenge each of us to honor him every day by trying to take a bit of his spirit, his humor, his love for kids, and to give that back to our community each day to make them feel appreciated and seen in the way Joe would want us to. So with that, we're going to have an invocation from Pastor Murdoch.
I want to say thank you to Rupa. Rupa, thank you for all that you've done in helping get this put together and begun. It was 5 years ago that we celebrated Joe's life, because it was such a good life. We were grateful for all he did in this community, and anybody who knew him knew just the joy that he helped you feel when you came into contact with him. On that night, or when we celebrated his life and had a service, one of the songs that we sang came from Jimmy Buffett, as we've been playing here. Rupa chose all the right songs this morning, and one of them was One Particular Harbor. And that one has been in my mind ever since, and especially as we got close to this day, because of what it talks about, is that place where there is a safe place for children, where we can play safely and there's joy abounds. And so this morning, as we dedicate this place, as we offer a blessing, that's part of what we're trying to remember with Joe, is what he has done here throughout decades, is to create that atmosphere where children can come and play and be safe and have a great time, and at the same time, we who are adults know they're safe. And so we want to dedicate this place, offer a blessing, asking that this will continue to be that one particular harbor. Will you bow with me? Holy God, we are grateful because Joe has shown us a way of caring and loving and providing a safe place for children, for teenagers, for adults to come and play, as we've seen this morning. So we're grateful for his life, but more than that, we're grateful for this community that he loved, and we're grateful for this place. And we ask you, oh God, that once again, that we might find this place to be that one particular harbor where we can all come, where we can feel safe, where we are overfilled with joy. Come, bless this place. Even as we remember it as a place that Joe was at, it's also a place we are each day. And may this be that special one particular harbor for us. We pray in your holy name. Amen.
We'll be right back with more of the Joe Moon celebration after these messages.
I had a knee replacement, so they've got me in life care, which I'm very, very thankful for. I couldn't garden, I couldn't do my flower beds, I can't chase my little dogs. I have been in several therapy sessions for knees and back, and that's the best therapist I believe I've ever been to. It's tremendous because I'm able to walk again, but if it wasn't for the care, I wouldn't be where I am.
Let us champion your recovery. Life Care Center of Tullahoma.
The individuals with dementia, those with Parkinson's, those that have maybe mobility issues, need caregivers. Well, those caregivers are 24 hours a day at home, and they never get a rest. And if they have to go to work, they're kind of out of luck. So that's why Trinity came into existence 25 years ago, to allow the caregivers to have a safe center where they could put their loved ones, know they would be well cared for, stimulated, fed good nutritious meals, have activities to their level, and then the caregiver can stop by and pick them up and go on home and have some continuity into their life.
Welcome back. Also at the Joe Moon celebration, Tullahoma Mayor Ray Noyes made a proclamation naming July the 14th, 2021, Joe Moon Day in Tullahoma.
I have the honor this morning of presenting a proclamation in memory of Joe Moon. I want to advise you to begin with that this proclamation is rather lengthy, but every word is worthy of being heard, so hear the proclamation. Whereas Joe Moon was born and raised in Tullahoma and graduated from Tullahoma High School in 1967. He attended Middle Tennessee State University, graduating in 1971 with a degree in recreation and leisure studies. Joe umpired Babe Ruth League baseball and played in the Mountain Valley Baseball League during summer while he was in college and a few years following. And whereas Joe Moon began his career with the City of Tullahoma Parks and Recreation Department on February the 24th, 1975 as a recreation center supervisor, and continued to serve the community for 40 years as Director of Parks and Recreation, and for 12 years as Center Supervisor for 28 years. And whereas on March the 2nd, 2015, along with his friends, family, co-workers, and the community, he celebrated his official retirement. However, he continued to work part-time as a recreation leader for the Parks and Recreation Department, and whereas Joe Moon justly earned the respect and admiration and high regard of all who knew him and came in contact with him. And we recognize on this 5th anniversary of his passing, this community has sustained a great loss in his death. Whereas Joe Moon has a personality where he never knew a stranger. He cared for and expressed compassion. And he disciplined the kids when they were frequently at the community centers, and those who worked with their first jobs at the center, and as they were his own children. And whereas there's hardly an adult that grew up in this community that didn't know Joe Moon or know of him, and there are many who make this statement that Joe Moon raised me. And whereas Joe showed his compassion on a regular basis by paying anonymously to kids to be able to participate in the activities offered by the center, but otherwise would not have been able to experience. And whereas Mr. Moon was also known for his participation in other community activities such as umpiring baseball, refereeing basketball games, and other local programs. And whereas Joe Moon loved and enjoyed this town, his family, and his center family. So now, therefore be it resolved that I, Ray Norris, Mayor of Tullahoma, Tennessee, on behalf of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen and all citizens, do hereby, on Wednesday the 14th July 2021, dedicate this day as Joe Moon Day in Tullahoma. And on this, and ask that all citizens do hereby agree that on his loss that we are grateful for his compassion and for the welfare of others, and he is an outstanding citizen. And our loss, we gratefully acknowledge this day as Joe Moon Day on behalf of the City of Tullahoma Parks and Recreation Department. Signed, Ray Norris, Mayor. This I'll present to Miss Brenda an acknowledgement of Joe Moon.
And last but not least, J.P. Kraft of Tullahoma Parks and Recreation spoke about Joe and dedicated the street running in front of D.W. Wilson Community Center as Joe Moon Way.
Well, thank y'all for being here today. I'm J.P. Kraft of the Parks and Recreation Department. I'm going to admit I didn't know Joe until I started with the Recreation Department. I later found out my grandmother worked with his mother at Harton Hospital, and my mother and his sister became friends in the 1970s when they both worked in Nashville. No matter where I went in town, though, I quickly learned everybody knows Joe. Everybody knew Joe. Wherever I would go, they would see my logo on my shirt and they'd say, "Oh, you work for Parks and Rec. Do you know Joe Moon?" Or, do you work with Joe Moon? And I'd say, every day. However, not meeting Joe is not the same as not knowing Joe. Just last Friday, Lyle Russell, our program manager, who was unable to be here today actually, but he ran into a man at the Kroger gas station. And he said, "Oh, do you work for Parks and Rec? Do you know Joe Moon?" And he had on this shirt, of course. And Lyle explained he was hired after Joe had died, but had heard a lot about him. Well, that man went on to tell him a story about some friends playing basketball here at the community center one night. There was a fight on TV. Muhammad Ali was going to fight Ernie Shavers at Madison Square Garden, and they didn't have a place to watch it. Of course, a lot of places probably didn't have cable, but we did. So the boys talked Joe into staying, and Joe stayed well past closing time because the fight went all 15 rounds. Lyle and I looked up the date of that fight. It was September 29th, 1977, 44 years ago today. Or not today, but this year. That's just one story of Joe's legacy of generosity when it came to taking care of kids. Another time we had a similar experience. Joe officially retired and then came back part-time at CD Stamps and as a recreation leader. And on occasion he'd stop by and he'd buy 2 or 3 Splash Island passes from me. At the time I didn't know what he was doing with them. I didn't really ask. A couple years ago, after Joe passed away, a lady at Food Line told us that she was a single mother and she couldn't afford to send her son to Splash Island very often, and he was giving those passes to her. Today I'm proud to announce a continuation of that story. Joe's sister Brenda will be paying for the first 100 kids to go to Splash Island today. Brenda, we're so grateful. On behalf of the Recreation Department and those kids who'll get to swim today, thank you. The Parks and Recreation staff has a saying, the Joe Moon way. That usually means we're about to use an old tried and true, some would say archaic method of doing something like handwriting envelope labels or handwriting out a community center budget. Nothing with technology, of course. But after considering another definition, I think the Joe Moon way is really doing something nice for people and not expecting anything in return. Today I have the privilege of dedicating the new Joe Moon way
come to dedicate this road to the dedication and hard work and love that Joe Mean gave to the city of Tullahoma. So again, thank you again for remembering Joe. So join us in D.W. Wilson. Thank you.
Stay with us. Your weather forecast is coming up next.
The food at Parkview, well, I haven't had a bad meal there yet.
The food at Parkview is absolutely scrumptious. I mean, it is really good. It's just like home cooking.
And then there are the cookies. Oh my, they bake cookies every day and they are super.
The food is truly incredible, and it's like being on a cruise ship.
We're losing it, Doctor.
Not on my shift. Quickly, brush. Roller.
What a transformation. It's gonna be okay.
Okay, nothing.
At Paintworks of Tullahoma, we specialize in domestic emergencies with Martin Senior Paints. You can be the paint doctor too when you treat your home with Martin Senior interior and exterior finishes.
Doctor, we've got another one.
Got you covered.
Paintworks of Tullahoma. Come see the paint doctor, Stat.
I was skeptical about getting the COVID-19 vaccine. There are a lot of opinions being shared.
But I had the chance to talk with my doctor about my concerns. He told me the vaccines are backed by decades of research, and that the vaccines are proven safe and effective.
Now I'm protected and ready to put this pandemic behind us.
Join the millions of Tennesseans who have decided to give COVID-19 vaccines a shot. Visit covid19.tn.gov to find an appointment today.
Welcome back. We'll take a look at your weather forecast at this time, starting with your weather history on this day. Our record high was in 1980 at 99 degrees. The record low was in 1926 at 48 degrees. Average high on this day is 87, and the average low is 68. Mostly clear weather expected tonight with a low of 69. Rain moving into the forecast on Friday with a high of 88 and a low of 70, and storms expected on Saturday with a high of 84 and a low of 69. And that's our newsletter report for this evening. We invite you to join us each Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday at 6, 8, and 10 for News Leader on 6. You have a good evening.